someone's take on the horror movie Talk to Me, which is streaming on Amazon Prime.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it clocks in at a cool 90 minutes. So, if you're pressed for time, this might be a good one. Plus, this review hinted that it really packs a punch.
Interesting.
So one of the first things that jumped out from this review was the reviewer was really impressed that the movie kind of sidestepped the usual horror tropes, like those predictable jump scares or just the same old haunted house thing. They felt like Talk to Me was offering something genuinely fresh.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think a lot of horror movies these days rely on the same old tricks, and it gets old after a while.
Exactly. I mean, I love a good scare as much as anyone, but sometimes you just want something a little different. And this reviewer, well, they really piqued my curiosity. They said, Talk to Me has, quote, one of the finest climax shots I've ever seen.
Wow, that's high praise.
Right. So now I'm dying to know what makes this ending so special.
I know, right? I'm hooked already.
Me too.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is the reviewer didn't necessarily seem like a diehard fan of, like, every type of horror.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They mentioned having mixed feelings about supernatural horror, like with ghosts and demons and all that. And also body horror.
Oh, yeah, body horror. Not my cup of tea.
Same here. That's a little too much for me sometimes. Anyway, they mentioned that even though they weren't huge fans of those subgenres, this movie still had something else that drew them in, which is promising.
Right. There must be something special about it then to overcome those potential hurdles.
Totally. Okay, so get this. The reviewer described this incredibly immersive experience while watching the movie. Like, they talked about being in a dimly lit room and seeing shadows stretching across the walls, and that feeling of, like, not being able to tell what's real anymore.
Ooh, I like that.
Right. They described it as like a game that just spirals out of control.
Yeah.
And then there's this real sense of panic, like the characters are truly desperate.
Okay, so it's not just about cheap scares. It sounds more psychological, which I find much more effective.
Exactly. It's about the buildup, the anticipation, the slow burn. And this reviewer really emphasized that escalation of dread, not just, random jolts here and there.
Yeah.
They mentioned a character being pushed to the absolute edge and, like, struggling with their own perception of reality.
Yeah, I can see how that would be unsettling. Like, you start to question everything you see and hear.
For sure. And they mentioned, like, growing whispers and just this suffocating tension, which makes it sound less like a typical slasher flick and more like a psychological thriller.
Uh-huh. That kind of atmosphere can be so much creepier than just blood and guts.
I know, right? You're just waiting for something terrible to happen, but you don't know what or when. And then the reviewer describes this moment of complete stillness just before what they call a chilling realization.
Ooh, that sends shivers down my spine. It sounds like the filmmakers really know how to create suspense.
Oh yeah, big time. And they lead you to this pivotal moment of understanding, which of course brings us back to that amazing ending, that final shot, the last frame. The reviewer called it mind-blowing.
So it lives up to the hype, huh?
Sounds like it. And I don't know about you, but that kind of passionate reaction makes me want to see it even more.
Absolutely. It's got to be something special to elicit that kind of response.
Right. And the reviewer even directly recommended the film, saying, and I quote, "If you're looking for a quick but impactful watch, I'd highly recommend this, especially with friends. Its short runtime makes it an easy pick."
That's a pretty strong endorsement. It sounds like a perfect movie night pick.
Totally agree. Something you can watch with friends and then dissect afterward. So to wrap up our little deep dive here, it seems like Talk to Me could be a breath of fresh air for the horror genre. With this much praise, especially for its ending, it's definitely piqued my interest.
Mine too. And it's only 90 minutes, so even if it's not your favorite, it's not a huge time commitment.
Exactly. So before we go, I want to leave you with this thought. Thinking about the reviewer's description of the tension in that mind-blowing finale, what kind of chilling realization do you think awaits viewers? And how do you think that last shot might stay with you long after the movie ends? It's something to ponder, for sure.